Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch, our show following everything happening with new gen hardware and games. I'm Daemon Hatfield, and as always, I'm joined by Max Scoville, host of IGN's PlayStation podcast, Podcast Beyond.
Hey.
And from IGN's Xbox podcast, Podcast Unlocked, Destin Legarie is here.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me again.
Of course, and it is the most wonderful time of the year. Time to learn more about the games we'll be playing in 2024 and beyond. Next week are the Game Awards, and of course, the real meat of the game of the show are not the awards themselves, but all the trailers, reveals, and world premieres. But I want to share a quote from Jeff Keighley, organizer of the Game Awards, from a recent interview. He says, actually, you'll see this year, we often put up those cards, world premiere, world premiere. We're kind of moving away from that just because everything's kind of, is it a first look? Is it an announcement? So we just treat it all as great game content. So now before every trailer, we're going to hear great game content. Max, what do you make of this? Is this an attempt to temper expectations, much like the opening night live at this year's Game Awards, which I think was pretty necessary?
Yeah, I mean, this is a funny thing we've been seeing more and more often with these events is having to get in front of the internet hype train before it reaches terminal velocity, because people love to just let their expectations run away with them, and then they come out being horribly disappointed. And I mean, we've seen, Nintendo popping up and being like, hey, it's just indie games, or, PlayStation being like, it's going to be 11 minutes of Hogwarts Legacy. It's not PlayStation 6 or, anything like that. Just calm down. So it's funny to see Jeff doing this. That said, from the PlayStation side of things, I really wish we were getting a few more world premieres, because we're kind of flying blind here. We don't really know a whole lot that's coming out next year. So seeing more of things we know about is great and everything, but be cool to get some big surprises too.
I know from the first party side at Sony, I think all that we know of is there's Wolverine from Insomniac, and then there's a multiplayer something coming from Naughty Dog for The Last of Us. I don't know, with Spider-Man 2.
Is there? It's on ice.
Well, I know. I mean, it's a little bit unclear what exactly is happening in that project. Sure, that's fair. Is it too early to hear anything about Wolverine with Spider-Man 2 just out, Max?
I think so. I think we're more likely going to get, a tease of Spider-Man DLC, and even that feels like it's pretty early for that. I can also see, maybe Sony wanting to own that conversation on their end and show it off on a state of play. And I think they frequently do. Well, they often do a little, like a little state of play towards the end of the year, early December. So maybe we'll get something around then. But then again, they might also just continue the recent tradition of just not saying much and leaving us here twiddling our thumbs and hoping for more news. Yeah, I don't know. Wolverine would be great. I love Wolverine. I'm really excited for this game. I'm dying to hear more about it. But again, it feels like they probably want Spider-Man to have more of a victory lap before they start, hyping up the next Marvel character.
Well, in that case, I wonder if it might be time to just at least announce Ghost of Tsushima 2. It's been 3 years now.
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, Sucker Punch is working on something, I think. They had the whole sort of online co-op component for Ghost of Tsushima. They had the, Return to Monkey Island DLC. It's just, again, that is now one of their really, big flagship properties. There's also the movie, which it's very possible we see a movie before we see the next game. That's Chad Stahelski, the John Wick guy, is working on that in some capacity when he's not doing other stunt stuff.
What about possible third-party stuff from Sony, or third-party developed, Sony published? There's Stellar Blade, which I think was revealed earlier this year, and then remind us what Rise of the Ronin is.
Honestly, it looks a lot like Ghost of Tsushima in that it's, obviously very feudal Japanese samurai centric, but it's Team Ninja. So I think it's Team Ninja doing some samurai stuff, but we've had a sort of a lot of samurai sword games lately. That's not the genre, you know what I mean? But it'd be cool to see some of that. That one is slated for 2024. That and Stellar Blade, they seem like cool looking games, but they don't really strike me as the sort of big AAA flagship first party Sony hype train type of things. I think they're they have very good possibility of being solid games, but yeah, I don't know. Possibly Death Stranding 2 though. That's the one that I'm feeling like we might get something from, and that's Keighley and Kojima. They're pals. They're tight. If we don't get any Death Stranding 2 stuff, I feel like Keighley will at some point remind us that he's pals with Kojima. Just put up a picture of him for 5 minutes or whatever. Yeah, we got a good look at Death Stranding 2 last Game Awards, and there was more to it than I was expecting. Like it was kind of nuts to see like a full on game reveal that has sort of that much, in-engine looking stuff, that many. It wasn't just like a cinematic sizzle like we got for so much leading up to the first Death Stranding.
Death Stranding was great. I would love to see more Death Stranding 2 personally. And I think Kojima and Keighley are like attached at the hip. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got a big reveal for that one. I would love that.
If Death Stranding and or Kojima are there, would that rule out Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake being on the show?
No.
No.
No, not in my opinion.
They can both be there, even though there's bad
I know
blood.
Max is supposed to be the PlayStation guy, so I don't want to take his thunder, but I think there's no issue there whatsoever.
I'm more skeptical about Konami wanting to put stuff on Keighley's stage, given the whole sort of the big political debacle following Phantom Pain and Kojima leaving Konami. Keighley came out and was basically like, we wish we could give this award to Mr. Kojima, but he couldn't be here because Konami said he couldn't be here. And like, I don't know. I mean, Konami's a business. Maybe they're like, this is a good place to premiere something. But I could also see them being like, no, not this guy.
Destin, Xbox has announced that they are participating in the Game Awards. They'll have some announcements and games.
Major announcements.
So what, in your mind, what's a major announcement you expect to see next week?
Well, we already know some of the games that are coming in 2024 from Xbox. That includes Hellblade 2, Avowed, Ark 2, Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl is slated for then. There's probably going to be a Call of Duty, and we have to start thinking of that as technically a first party that launches on other platforms. We could see the Starfield Shattered Space story expansion that is, confirmed as the first DLC. And then there's other announcements like Final Fantasy XIV. When is that actually going to launch on the Xbox platform? What's going to happen with that Activision library? We have Sarah Bond tweeting out the 360 era logo, potentially teasing something happening relating to that. And a lot of fans are theorizing that the classic Call of Duty archive games, which surprisingly had their multiplayer reworked to be functional over the last few months, could suddenly see a release date on Xbox Game Pass. We also have Larian Studios teasing that the Xbox date will be revealed during the Game Awards. So those are just the things that we're kind of in the know about. In addition to that, some new major announcements will go over really well. We had the leaked documents earlier this year that talk about the Indiana Jones game, the Oblivion remaster, an ESO expansion, which is pretty standard, but there's also stuff like Doom Year Zero, Project Kestrel. There's all sorts of possibilities with what Xbox could have up their sleeves. And even if it's just some of the stuff we already know about, like an actual release date for Hellblade 2, we know it's 2024, but we don't know when, will go over very, very well with the audience, I think.
I would hope we'd finally get a release date for Hellblade 2, because that's been shown at the Game Awards since 2019. And then Stalker 2 is supposed to arrive in early 2024. So now is probably about the time, if that's actually coming early 2024. You mentioned Baldur's Gate 3. What do you think the odds are that it's available that day on Xbox?
I think it's high.
Yeah.
Larian seems to have everything buttoned up. They've confirmed what will be included with that launch. I wouldn't be surprised if we're playing it the day of the Game Awards on the Xbox platform. It's definitely coming in December, so we know that for sure. And I would love Baldur's Gate 3 to launch, but in addition to that, I would also like an announcement from the Coalition, for example, for Gears 6 would be the thing that I think a lot of Xbox fans have just been waiting for anything about the Gears franchise, which has just been sort of there, but not really discussed. And the Coalition also has a separate project that they're developing. So those would be great. Time will tell what they actually show.
What do you think the odds are of Baldur's Gate 3 launching on Game Pass? That feels like a totally pie in the sky thing, but I saw some people in the YouTube comments.
0%.
That would get some people subscribing to Game Pass real quick.
Absolutely. And they do have a lot of their metrics are tied to Game Pass subscriptions, and they want to boost that number for the Xbox brand. That's like one of their core metrics internally. So maybe they dropped the cash on their chart. They said it would be an easy get. So Larian kind of disagreed about that. Maybe things have changed a little bit since it was the biggest thing to hit the internet in quite a while.
Well, I think Avowed is another good candidate. We know that we expect that to come next year. But Destin, when that was sort of fully revealed with gameplay earlier this year, I think there were mixed reactions to Avowed. What do you think they would have to show or tell us about Avowed to get people more excited about it?
Well, I think people were really excited about it. For me, it was sort of mixed feelings because we found out after that reveal that the original art direction was too close to Skyrim in their opinion. And the Avowed situation I actually find really interesting because with Avowed, they said that they changed their art direction to make it stand out. And to me, I'm like, well, maybe that's because the Oblivion remaster is coming that year and they're worried about being compared to that game because it does take place in the Elder Scrolls universe. So they wanted to go more with the Pillars aesthetic to separate themselves from that franchise. I think to win over fans for Avowed, largely they've already done that, but if they showed us some of the storytelling or some of the monsters that we'll be encountering and fighting, like the boss size ones, then I think you could get even more interest because they did say that they are making it a smaller, more story focused experience. So show us some of that story. What are the story beats going to be like? What will be the compelling hook that gets players really invested in that universe?
Now, Max, Elden Ring was shown off, I think it is not the Game Awards, it was at Summer Game Fest about 9 months before its release in early 2022. We know there's this Shadow of the Erdtree expansion that's coming, but Elden Ring is going to be 2 years old in early 2024. I think it's time to finally show off, or at least give us a release date for this expansion.
Yes. I mean, but I say that because I want it just very badly. Yeah, I mean, that could go either way. Keely's demonstrated that he's got good enough relationship with Bandai Namco to get Elden Ring related reveals and things like that. I would love so much for them to show off the Shadow of the Erdtree. But again, I think if you look at sort of previous FromSoft DLC expansions like Hunter's Nightmare, Bloodborne, that was sizable, in relationship to how big Bloodborne was. Same with Dark Souls 3, Ring City, stuff like that. If they're making a big old expansion to go with Elden Ring, which is already like an enormous game, I feel like this is going to be a bigger, a heftier chunk of DLC than we're used to, even by their sizable standards. So I'm if it takes longer to get something massive, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I am ready to return to Elden Ring myself. Let's talk about maybe the elephant in the room. Grand Theft Auto 6, last month, Rockstar announced we'll be getting the trailer for the next Grand Theft Auto in early December. We're still in early December now. Do you think, obviously Rockstar does not need to partner with the Game Awards, but it would be an incredible get for the Game Awards. I don't know. Destin, what's your sort of your current feeling as to when this trailer will actually arrive?
It will not be during the Game Awards. Rockstar will almost definitely do their own thing. I think this is too big for them to partner with an award show to do it. I think it will be their own event. The question is, will it come before or after the Game Awards, in my opinion? And I'm leaning towards before. I think they want to get ahead of all the big reveals. But I don't know. It's a really tough question because they could go after and steal a lot of people's thunder because once GTA 6 puts out their asset, that's going to be the talk of the internet for some time to come.
Yeah. Max, how about you? What's your current
feeling? I mean,
feeling?
that is an extremely Rockstar move to have this incredibly stacked year of games and then just to come out and just quietly be like, bloop, here's a trailer for our next game and have everyone forget about everything they were playing for the last 12 months. I could see this trailer dropping before the Game Awards or after the Game Awards, but almost definitely not during the Game Awards, unless it is already aired, in which case, Keely, I feel like we'll just roll it again because people want to see it. I could also see maybe somebody from Rockstar comes on stage and announces when the trailer's actually premiering to sort of drum up hype about it, if assuming it is coming after the Game Awards take place, which would be... that would still get people talking, which is kind of the idea. But one big downside to actually having the Game Award, the GTA trailer on the Game Awards themselves is that would piss off everybody else who had anything to show at the Game Awards. Like that would completely just suffocate any hype around any other big reveals, which I'm sure Keely doesn't want to do.
Yeah. Let me ask you what you think about this. The global PR director for CD Projekt Red announced he's attending the awards. Does that tell you anything, or is it more because Cyberpunk is nominated for a couple awards?
Oh, it's definitely some huge announcement that he has kept under his hat. It is clearly the next game from the CDPR team. Witcher 4 at the Game Awards for sure. No, I think he's just going to the event.
Yeah, some people just go to the Game Awards to hang out.
Yeah.
It's a nice time.
It's true. Well, one can hope. There's all these games that have been announced at the Game Awards years ago with like an announcement, a little teaser trailer, and then it's just been dead silent since then. Games like Perfect Dark, which hurts my heart personally. And then there's Wonder Woman, which I believe was 2 years ago now, from Monolith, the team behind Shadow of Mordor. Just been nothing about either of these games. I'd love to get an update on either or both. And then, of course, the Game Awards will also often include ancillary gaming adjacent content, musical performances, movies, TV shows. We just got the first images for this Fallout show. I don't know, Keeley said on Twitter, I'm excited to learn more about this show soon. I don't know, maybe there could be a trailer for the Fallout TV show.
That would be great. We got to see the Fallout trailer BCD at Gamescom. They showed it during the Xbox presentation. I don't know if that was just to the first group or to everybody, but the show looks awesome. We have a great story on IGN.com right now that has a bunch of images. A lot of people are really excited. It looks like they got the tone, they got the character, they got the feel of the visuals correct. I would love for them to drop the trailer during the Game Awards and show fans what we got to see back in August, because I liked it a lot. I think it looks awesome. And we've been getting more of these great video game adaptations lately. I think the Gran Turismo movie was awesome also. So if they do Ghost of Tsushima, I think that would be a good tie-in. I am curious how the audience would react to having several television or movie adaptations of games during the awards, though.
Well, yeah. Maybe there don't need to be several, but...
I mean, that is one of the new categories this year is awarding adaptations.
That's true.
In whatever form that is. I'm actually kind of amazed that we haven't seen that Fallout trailer that was at Gamescom. Like,
yeah,
I like how Microsoft's entire like next 5 years of business plans leaked, but not the trailer they were showing to people at Gamescom. So yeah, a trailer would be great, but also, yeah, I don't know. Those images are really cool. I'm pretty hyped based on those alone.
They probably thought it would leak, but then everybody was actually just super respectful and didn't leak it, and they're like, "Oh, whoops."
Well, the Game Awards are happening next Thursday, December 7th. You can watch the whole thing here at IGN with our pre- and post-show coverage. I believe Destin will be joining me for that.
Yep.
Before we switch gears to some polls, Destin, any sort of last-minute hope or prediction for the Game Awards?
I have one more hope.
Okay.
I hope that whatever Project Kestrel is, it's from the team who's working on ESO. We know a few things about it. I've talked about it a few times on Unlocked. It's been in dev 4 years as of 2022, according to an interview with studio's creative director, Ben Jones. That means it's been in dev for 5 or 6 years today. Let's see a trailer. What have you been working on? The internet wants to know. Is it the rumored Mandalorian MMO, or is it something way different? Show us.
You expect it to be some type of MMO.
We know it's an MMO.
Okay.
Or wait, here's what it says specifically. ZeniMax Online Studios is seeking a lead quest designer to join our studio for development of our next AAA game. This is a chance to join an experienced group of developers in pre-production for a new IP. And they're doing content design, narrative design, design leads, and environment. And that's an old job posting that they've had. This has been floating around for several years now, and at the 5-6 year mark, it feels like it's gonna be time to show something very soon.
And Max, how about you? Any sort of last-minute hopes?
I hope The Rock comes out and tells us about his great new energy drink flavor.
Yeah.
That's what I don't know. I hope there's some. I mean, maybe not to the effect of somebody rushing the stage and saying weird stuff into the mic like we had, but I love that there's always some bizarre thing that happens at the Game Awards that we wind up talking about for weeks.
Yeah.
We got like our first whispers of Chris Pratt as Mario last year, didn't we?
Or
Maybe.
it was a full on announcement, or maybe it was even the year prior to that. I forget, but
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I love talking about these games that we know about, but I love when there's just some complete curveball out of left field that catches us off guard, and we get to have a bunch of weird memes about it.
Yeah.
Infamous remake. That's what I want on the PlayStation side. The Infamous remake.
What, is that even rumored, or you're just?
Yeah, it's been rumored for a while.
I
Yeah,
haven't heard about that. But I would rather Sucker Punch be working on Ghost of Tsushima 2, personally.
probably.
I want a photorealistic, scientifically accurate Sly Cooper.
So basically, the Disney animated, the live-action remake version of Sly Cooper. Sure.
Not just regular raccoon who steals stuff. Just the animal. That's it.
Okay, we got a couple of polls to catch up on. In recent episodes, we asked, what do you think was the best generation of video games? The winning result is a little bit surprising to me, with just over 28% of the votes was the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox generation, which is followed by the PS3, 360, and Wii generation, which I kind of would have guessed that would be number one. Man, poor 8-bit generation. Dead last, only 2.5% of the votes for the 8-bit NES generation. Only 90s kids will remember that.
LJN, that's what did it. All those terrible LJN.
LJN did it. Total Recall, I guess, Predator. The other poll was, we want to know, did you plan to buy a console over Black Friday? Perhaps unsurprisingly, 87% of IGN audience said, no, I don't need a new console. I know everyone here already has their own console. But of those that were going to get one, 6.5% said yes, they're going to pick up their first PS5. Only 3.5% were getting their first Xbox Series X or S, and only 2.5% were getting their first Nintendo Switch. New poll for you to vote on for next episode. Do you think GTA 6, Grand Theft Auto 6 will be announced at the Game Awards next week on December 7th, 2023? Yes? No? Make sure to vote at IGN.com the day this episode goes live, and we'll share the results with you next week, although by then we'll know whether or not it would have happened. And that's going to do it for this edition of Next Gen Console Watch. Thank you to both Max and Destin. Thank you to everyone working behind the scenes here in our LA office to make this episode possible. My name is Damon. We'll be back. Actually, we won't be back next week because the Game Awards are happening and it messed everything up. But we'll be back the week after that with more new gen gaming and hardware news. We'll see you then.